For thousands of years, the galaxy had drifted in quiet ignorance of one of its oldest legends, humanity. Long ago, humans were one of the strongest civilizations, their curiosity and power unmatched. But then, suddenly, they vanished. No one knew where they went or why. Their worlds, once bright with bustling cities and great fleets, were left empty and lifeless. Many believed humans had destroyed themselves or lost the will to survive. Others whispered that they had fled into the darkest reaches of space, beyond the edge of known maps, seeking something far beyond ordinary knowledge. The great empires that rose in the void left by humanity's disappearance never stopped speculating, but as centuries turned into millennia, humans became nothing more than a myth, a story told to children, a warning to adventurers, a shadow lost in the stars. The Galactic Concord, a powerful alliance of species ruling much of known space, had long accepted the silence as fact, its leaders confident that the human race was extinct. Then, in the year 50,000, the impossible happened. A faint signal flickered across distant receivers on the edges of the Varn Dominion's listening arrays. At first, it was dismissed as cosmic noise, a quirk of a dying star, but it returned, a repeating pattern, slow and deliberate, encoded in an ancient form of language long thought dead. The signal contained strange sequences, data bursts interwoven, with star charts pointing toward the unexplored outer fringe. Scientists raced to decode the message, finding fragments of a voice speaking of return, of unfinished journeys, and warnings of power beyond reckoning. The entire Dominion felt a sudden chill as leaders convened emergency meetings. If humans were truly sending a message after 40,000 years, it could only mean one thing: they were coming back. Panic spread among the Council of Worlds, who saw their own dominions built on human absence threatened. Was this a call for peace or a prelude to war? On a neutral world bathed in soft blue light, the Council assembled their fleet, a show of strength to prepare for what many feared could be a devastating arrival. Unknown to them, something far larger than a single fleet had already stirred near the outer fringe, a shimmering rift in space, invisible to most scanners, pulsing with an eerie glow. From within this anomaly, a vast shape began to materialize. A moon-sized city, ancient and yet humming with fresh life. The Ark of Sol, a name once whispered only in legend, emerged in full glory, its surface covered in twisting spires and glowing veins of energy. As the Ark activated, sensors across the galaxy trembled, unable to comprehend the source of its power. Ships from the Council moved closer, hearts pounding with a mixture of hope, fear, and doubt. The Ark sent out no weapons, no demands, only a deep, resonant signal that flooded communication networks with the same encrypted data as before. A voice finally came through, calm but firm. "We are the children of Earth. We have returned not to conquer, but to reclaim what was lost." The galaxy held its breath. Questions multiplied. Why had humanity disappeared? What had they become? Could the stories be true, that humans had evolved beyond mere flesh and blood, becoming something far greater? As the Council debated their next move, strange events began to ripple through the systems near the outer fringe. Stars flickered, planets shifted, and ancient machines once dormant suddenly stirred to life. It was as if the return of humanity had awakened something older, something waiting patiently in the darkness. Meanwhile, on the neutral world, a young diplomat named Lyra watched the transmissions in disbelief. Her entire career had prepared her for peace negotiations and political intrigue, but nothing had prepared her for this: the return of a species thought extinct, with power beyond comprehension, and purpose unclear. She wondered what awaited them beyond the Ark's glowing hull. She felt a shiver of excitement mixed with dread, knowing the galaxy's balance was about to change forever. As the first human emissaries prepared to step onto the neutral planet, eyes from every corner of the galaxy focused on them, waiting, watching, wondering if this return would bring salvation or destruction. The silence that had lasted for so long was finally broken, but what came next was a mystery written in the stars, a story about to unfold that would shatter the galaxy's fragile peace and rewrite the fate of all who lived among the stars. The Ark of Sol drifted silently into orbit above the neutral planet named Erindor, its vast size casting a shadow that stretched across continents below. And as the galaxy held its breath, the Council's fleet watched cautiously from a distance, unsure of what to expect from this return that had come after so many lost years. The ship was unlike anything seen before, more than metal and machines. It was a living entity, glowing softly with energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. The atmosphere around the Ark shimmered, causing sensors to falter and messages to delay, as if the very fabric of space bent to the ship's will. On Erindor's surface, the Council representatives gathered, nerves tightening in their chests as a single airlock hissed open. From within emerged the first of humanity's new form, a figure clad in armor that seemed forged from light and metal, its eyes bright with intelligence, but also something unspoken, something that made those who looked away feel small and uncertain. Ambassador Arin Voss, the leader of this human delegation, stepped forward, his voice calm but commanding as he addressed the assembly. "We come in peace," he said, but the tone carried a strength that brooked no argument. As the humans began to move onto the planet, they did not speak much, but their presence filled the air with a strange energy. Machines and structures folded, open like flowers around them, and strange symbols appeared in the sky, glowing with quiet power. The Council watched as humans swiftly began setting up what they called restoration centers, places where barren land transformed into vibrant ecosystems in mere hours, where sick beings were healed by unseen forces, and where ancient knowledge was shared in ways no translator could fully capture. Yet with every miracle, doubt and fear grew among the alien spectators. How could a species lost for tens of thousands of years possess such power? What had they become in the dark reaches? Beyond the galaxy, the Council's fleets were not idle either. Ships flew reconnaissance missions around the Ark, attempting to find weaknesses or hidden weapons, but every effort was met with a smooth resistance. Attacks were predicted and deflected without destruction. It was as if the humans could see every move before it happened, responding not with aggression, but with precision that stopped threats without harm. Rumors spread quickly through the corridors of power. Some said humanity had become part machine, others that they had merged with something ancient and cosmic. Scientists proposed theories that bordered on madness, that humans had evolved beyond physical form into beings of pure energy or consciousness. Meanwhile, the political climate grew tense. Some leaders demanded immediate action, fearing that any delay would mean losing control of their worlds. Others argued for diplomacy, hoping that this return could bring peace and advancement to all species. Ambassador Arin Voss remained patient, insisting that humanity's return was a chance to heal old wounds, to restore what had been lost, and to share knowledge that could lift the galaxy into a new era. But beneath his calm exterior lay a deeper purpose, one not yet revealed to the others. As the days passed, strange events unfolded. On worlds near the Ark, dormant ancient devices, long believed to be relics, suddenly activated, sending pulses of energy into space. These pulses reached far and wide, awakening slumbering sentient machines and stirring life forms that had been trapped in frozen states for centuries. Scientists scrambled to understand these phenomena, while military leaders grew anxious, fearing this was a prelude to war. On Erindor, a young researcher named Kale found himself drawn to one of the restoration centers. He observed as humans manipulated matter with gestures, weaving life from lifeless rock, creating complex ecosystems in moments. His heart raced, with excitement and fear. Could this power be controlled, or would it overwhelm the galaxy like a flood? Then, one night, under the light of 3 moons, Kale met one of the humans in secret. The being introduced herself simply as Mira. Her eyes held an endless depth, and her voice was soft but firm as she spoke of humanity's journey beyond the stars. She told him stories of the dark space where no light reached, where humans had transformed through centuries of struggle and discovery. "We are not what we once were," she said, "but we remember the mistakes, the wars, the pride. We return not to rule, but to guide." Kyle felt a chill run through him. If this was true, then humanity's return could mean salvation or judgment. As days turned into weeks, tensions reached a breaking point. A faction within the council, impatient and suspicious, decided to test humanity's strength. They sent a fleet to blockade the Ark, demanding that the humans explain their intentions fully and immediately. The Ark responded not with weapons, but by disabling every ship in the blockade. Their engines failed, communications went silent, and crew members found themselves unable to move, as if held by an invisible force. When the blockade lifted, the disabled ships floated harmlessly, untouched but helpless. Ambassador Voss sent a message to the council. "We will not fight, we will not conquer, but we will protect ourselves and all who welcome our presence." The message sparked debate across the galaxy. Some saw it as a warning, others as a promise. Meanwhile, back on Erindor, Mira and Kale continued their conversations. She revealed fragments of humanity's purpose: to awaken the galaxy to forgotten truths and to mend the fractures caused by millennia of conflict and ignorance. But she also warned that not all would accept this. Old powers would resist, and chaos might follow. The galaxy was at a crossroads, and the coming days would decide its fate. In the sky above, the Ark glowed brighter, a beacon of hope and mystery. The long silence was over, but the true arrival, humanity's return, was just beginning. The galaxy was buzzing with tension as the Council of Worlds faced an impossible choice: how to deal with humanity's return, a power so great and unknown. It unsettled even the most experienced leaders. The various empires, once rivals and enemies, found themselves in a fragile alliance, united by fear more than trust. In secret meetings held across star systems, they agreed to take a stand, to show humanity that the galaxy would not bow without a fight. The coalition fleet assembled near Erindor, a massive armada of warships from different species, their weapons charged and ready, their commanders steeling themselves for battle. The leaders knew this could ignite a war unlike any before, but they believed it was the only way to assert control over a force they barely understood. On the Ark of Sol, Ambassador Arin Voss observed the fleet's approach through a vast viewing chamber. Calm and composed, he prepared to give the coalition one last chance to avoid bloodshed. The humans on board moved with quiet purpose, their machines humming in perfect harmony, their eyes reflecting centuries of wisdom and experience. As the first ships moved into firing range, a message was broadcast across all channels. "Stand down. We do not wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves." The coalition ignored the warning, believing humanity's confidence was weakness. Suddenly, without warning, the humans activated their defense systems. A wave of energy, unlike any weapon known, swept across the battlefield, disabling every hostile ship in seconds. Engines sputtered, weapons went silent, and crews found themselves powerless, trapped in invisible fields that held them gently but firmly. No one was hurt, but the message was clear: humanity's power was absolute. Shock rippled through the coalition fleet. What kind of force could defeat thousands of warships without firing a single destructive shot? Leaders scrambled to reassess their plans, their fears growing. Ambassador Voss then sent a surprising offer. The humans would repair the disabled ships and treat the wounded crews, extending a hand of friendship despite the attack. This act stunned the galaxy. Many saw it as a sign of mercy, others suspected trickery. Suspicion deepened when small human teams began repairing ships and healing the injured with strange technology that seemed part machine, part energy, and part something no one could explain. The coalition's unity started to crack, as some species argued that humanity's mercy was a sign of superiority. Others worried it was a trap. In the midst of this uneasy peace, underground groups across the galaxy began plotting. Some sought to sabotage the alliance, others to ally with humanity secretly, believing their return was a chance for a new beginning. Meanwhile, mysterious events unfolded near the Ark. Ancient machines, buried beneath planets long forgotten, began activating on their own. These devices sent pulses of energy that resonated with human technology, causing strange phenomena, gravity shifts, time distortions, and bursts of light that illuminated the night skies. Scientists and military leaders were baffled, realizing that humanity's return had awoken something far older and more powerful than any known civilization. On Erindor, a young officer named Talin found himself caught between loyalty and curiosity. Assigned to watch the human restoration centers, he witnessed firsthand their miraculous ability to heal land and life. Yet he could not shake a growing unease. What if this power was too great to control? What if the humans held secrets that could tear the galaxy apart? One evening, Talin secretly met with a human named Nira, a historian who spoke of the past with reverence and sorrow. She told him of the mistakes humanity had made long ago, wars that nearly destroyed them, and a decision to disappear and grow stronger in the shadows. "We do not seek to rule," she said softly, "but to guide and protect. Still, not all will accept our return." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. A rogue faction within the coalition had launched a surprise attack on one of the restoration centers. Ships filled the skies, firing weapons designed to disrupt the human technology. The humans responded swiftly, but without violence. Instead, they activated fields that absorbed the attacks and neutralized weapons, leaving attackers stranded and unharmed but defeated. This only fueled anger and fear. The rogue faction accused humanity of trickery and demanded that the Council expel them immediately. The Council fractured, unable to maintain unity. Old rivalries resurfaced, and some species began preparing for war, while others sought diplomacy. In the chaos, a new threat emerged. Ancient sentient machines, awakened by humanity's presence, began to stir in the dark corners of space. Their intentions were unknown, but their power rivaled even humanity's. The galaxy teetered on the edge of disaster as humans and aliens alike faced enemies both old and new. Ambassador Voss addressed the galaxy once more, warning that the path ahead would be difficult and dangerous. But that peace was still possible if the galaxy could unite. He spoke of a future where knowledge was shared, and strength was measured not in weapons, but in wisdom. Yet, as his words echoed through space, shadows gathered, and alliances shattered. The galaxy was breaking apart, and only time would tell. If humanity's return would heal the wounds of the past or shatter the fragile peace forever. The galaxy was unsettled, its ancient foundations shaking as new truths began to surface, challenging everything that civilizations believed about themselves and the past. Deep within the ruins of Zelnara III, a planet forgotten by time and buried under layers of dust and silence, a team of archaeologists uncovered relics that would send shockwaves through every major world. Led by Dr. Lyra Wren, a young expert. Fascinated by lost civilizations, the group discovered strange artifacts, biological records encoded in crystals, devices that held memories not just of a species, but of a shared history. As these crystals were carefully activated using human technology brought by the Ark of Sol, the secrets they held began to unravel, revealing a staggering truth. Humanity, far from being an isolated species lost to time, had once been the seed from which many of the galaxy's dominant races were born. The records showed that tens of thousands of years ago, before the Great Silence, humans had spread across the stars, carrying with them the knowledge and genes to uplift primitive species into sentient life. This revelation sent a wave of disbelief and fear through the Council of Worlds and the galaxy's populations. Many questioned the legitimacy of the discovery. Others were stunned to learn that their ancestors were shaped by a race they thought extinct. Political leaders scrambled to control the narrative, fearing the power shift this knowledge could cause. If humanity was the ancestor of many, what did that mean for the current empires and alliances? On Erindor, Ambassador Arin Voss observed, "The unrest quietly." Humanity was not surprised by the revelation. In fact, the Ark's archives had been prepared to share these truths when the time was right. They sought not to claim power, but to restore balance and understanding. Yet not all welcomed the news with open minds. Some species saw it as a threat to their independence, accusing humans of arrogance and hidden agendas. Underground movements formed quickly. Some dedicated to preserving the old stories and rejecting humanity's claims, others eager to embrace the idea of a shared origin and a new future. Meanwhile, the ancient machines awakened by humanity's arrival began to react to the uncovering of the past. These sentient constructs, relics of a civilization older than any living race, sent waves of energy across star systems, awakening dormant colonies and stirring life from its frozen sleep. Scientists and military officials grew increasingly concerned, realizing that the galaxy's history was more complicated and fragile than ever imagined. On the restored surface of Zelnara, Third, Dr. Lyra Wren worked closely with human historians to decode more crystals. Each revealed stories of cooperation, war, sacrifice, and hope, tales of humanity guiding fledgling species, sharing technology and culture, and warning against repeating the mistakes of the past. As the truth spread, it inspired a mixture of awe and fear. For many, the idea that humans had once been caretakers of the galaxy brought hope for healing and unity. For others, it was a call to arms, a warning that old powers might rise to defend their fractured sovereignties. In the midst of this turmoil, a young alien named Kyle, who had once met Mira from the Ark, felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had witnessed humanity's power firsthand, but had struggled with the mystery of their return. Now, armed with the new knowledge, he understood that the galaxy stood at a crossroads between destruction and rebirth. The question was whether its people could choose wisely. As tensions mounted, the Council of Worlds struggled to maintain order. Debates grew heated, alliances frayed, and trust eroded. Some called for immediate cooperation with humanity to prevent disaster, while others advocated isolation and resistance. Meanwhile, shadowy factions took advantage of the chaos, sabotaging communication networks and stirring unrest in key systems. The galaxy seemed on the brink of collapse, but within the Ark of Sol, Ambassador Voss and his team prepared for the next step. They began releasing vast archives of knowledge, carefully chosen to educate and unite rather than dominate. The information included scientific breakthroughs, histories of long-lost alliances, and warnings of threats that had once nearly destroyed all life. It was a gift and a test. Would the galaxy accept the past, learn from it, and move forward, or would pride and fear push it toward ruin? One evening, as the 3 moons of Erindor cast pale light over the restoration centers, Lyra and Kyle stood together, gazing at the stars. "The past is not just history," Lyra said quietly. "It is a mirror. It shows us who we were and who we can become." Kyle nodded, a shadow of doubt in his eyes. "But can the galaxy forgive? Can it trust humanity again?" Before Lyra could answer, the ground trembled beneath them. The ancient machines, sensing the unfolding events, had begun to move, mobilizing across star systems, their true purpose unknown. The galaxy held its breath once more, realizing that the echoes of the past were not just stories, but warnings carved in time, urging all to face what was coming. The long silence had ended, and the galaxy's future was now a fragile dance between hope and fear, between unity and chaos. Humanity's return was no longer a secret. It was a challenge, a promise, and a call to remember the ancient ties that bound all life among the stars. The galaxy stood on the edge of collapse as ancient forces stirred, and the fragile peace shattered into shards of fear and chaos. After the revelations about humanity's true place in history, old rivalries ignited with new fury, and the ancient machines, once dormant relics of a forgotten age, now moved with purpose, their glowing eyes scanning the stars for threats and answers. The Council of Worlds was fractured, its leaders desperate and divided. While on countless planets, citizens wondered if the return of humanity meant salvation or doom. Ambassador Arin Voss, aboard the Ark of Sol, felt the weight of this moment. His people had come not to conquer, but to restore balance, yet the galaxy's distrust was a wall that grew taller with every passing day. As the ancient machines began to awaken entire star systems, they released waves of energy that altered space itself. Time flowed strangely in some places, while gravity bent and twisted elsewhere. The coalition fleet, already weakened by internal strife, tried to respond, but found their technology failing against these forces. The humans, however, moved with calm precision. Using knowledge recovered from the archives of the past, they engaged the machines, not with weapons of destruction, but with signals of recognition and peace. For a moment, it seemed the machines might be reasoned with, their ancient minds, able to understand the history they had witnessed in silence for eons. Yet a darker power lurked. Behind the machine's awakening, a force born from the fractures of time and space, feeding on fear and hatred, growing stronger with every conflict. It whispered promises of power to those willing to listen, and many in the galaxy found themselves tempted, their loyalties swayed by promises of control and revenge. On the front lines, young Talin and Kale found themselves caught in the storm of war and uncertainty. Talin, loyal to his people but curious about humanity's true purpose, struggled to make sense of the chaos. Kale, inspired by the truths revealed and the hope offered by humans like Mira and Nira, believed that the galaxy could still be saved if only its leaders would listen. The turning point came when a rogue faction within the coalition launched a desperate attack on the Ark itself, hoping to end humanity's return by destroying the source of their power. The battle was fierce, starships clashing in a dance of light and destruction that lit up the void. Yet the Ark remained unbroken, its defenses stronger than anyone imagined, and its crew calm in the face of danger. Humanity's response was swift and decisive. Instead of retaliating with violence, they unleashed a wave of energy that restored peace where there had been chaos. Weapons were disabled, ships healed, and wounds mended. It was a demonstration of power and mercy that stunned the galaxy, but the cost was high. The rogue faction's attack awakened the darker force lurking within the ancient machines, and it responded with fury. Entire systems fell into shadow as this entity spread, consuming light and hope alike. The Council of Worlds, realizing the true threat, called for an emergency summit. Leaders who had once been enemies gathered in uneasy alliance, united by a need to survive. Ambassador Voss stepped forward, offering humanity's knowledge and technology as a beacon against the darkness. Together, they planned a bold strike, not to destroy the machines, but to awaken the ancient wisdom hidden within them, to reclaim the galaxy's lost harmony. The final battle unfolded across stars and worlds, a test of courage, trust, and the will to choose peace over destruction. Tallinn and Kale, side by side, led forces that had once been foes, now fighting for a future beyond their fears. Mira and Nera worked to communicate with the ancient minds, unraveling secrets that could turn the tide. As the dark force began to weaken, the galaxy held its breath, watching the fragile dance of light and shadow. In the end, it was not power or weapons that won the day, but understanding, an acceptance of the past, a willingness to forgive, and a shared vision for what life among the stars could be. The ancient machines returned to their silent watch, guardians once more of the galaxy's balance. The rogue factions were disbanded and the Council of Worlds rebuilt, this time with humanity as a guiding partner rather than an enemy. The stars seemed brighter, the silence filled with new hope, yet the scars of war remained, reminders that peace was not a gift but a choice made every day. Ambassador Voss stood on the deck of the Ark, looking out at a galaxy waking to a new dawn. Reckoning had come, and humanity had shown that even in the darkest moments, light could return, not by breaking worlds, but by healing them. The long journey home was not just about returning to the stars, but about reclaiming the future for all who called the galaxy home. The galaxy, battered and weary from years of conflict and ancient awakenings, stood at the crossroads of destiny, as leaders and citizens alike gathered to forge a new path forward, a path called the New Accord. The great halls of the newly rebuilt Council of Worlds on the neutral planet of Virexus buzzed with anticipation and cautious hope. Delegates from countless species arrived, some still bearing scars of recent battles, others cloaked in suspicion born from centuries of rivalry. Humanity, represented by Ambassador Aaron Voss and his closest advisors, entered not as conquerors, but as partners offering a hand of friendship shaped by the lessons of the past. The wounds left by the reckoning were deep. Star systems still struggled to recover from the shadow that had nearly consumed them. Ancient machines returned to dormancy, but remained reminders of the power that slept beneath the galaxy's surface. Yet the people understood that survival required more than strength. It required trust, understanding, and a shared vision for the future. As the sessions began, voices from all corners of the galaxy spoke their truths, some filled with regret, others with determination. Old grievances surfaced, threatening to unravel the fragile peace, but Ambassador Voss and his team listened carefully, weaving their responses with humility and clarity. They shared the knowledge recovered from the Ark's archives, revealing histories that connected many worlds and species in ways few had realized before. This was not a call for domination, but a plea for unity. Among the delegates was Tallinn, the young officer who had seen both the horrors of war and the possibilities of alliance. He stood beside Kale, who had become a symbol of hope, bridging humanity and alien races. Together, they worked tirelessly to build bridges between distrustful parties, reminding everyone that the galaxy's future depended on cooperation, not conquest. But the path to agreement was not smooth. Hidden factions sought to disrupt the talks, fearing change would erode their power. Sabotage and espionage threatened to derail the fragile accord as messages of fear and rebellion spread like wildfire through the colonies. Ambassador Voss anticipated these challenges and responded with transparency, inviting all to witness the workings of the Council and the benefits of cooperation firsthand. Slowly, the walls of suspicion began to crumble. Human technology was shared openly, not as a weapon, but as a tool to rebuild worlds shattered by war. Medical advancements healed ancient diseases, energy sources replaced dying stars, and educational programs fostered understanding across cultures. These acts of goodwill spoke louder than words. Then came a moment that would define the new accord, a proposal that no single species should hold ultimate power, but that decisions would be made collectively through a new system of shared governance. It was a radical idea, but one that promised fairness and balance. Delegates debated fiercely, weighing the risks and benefits. Many feared loss of sovereignty, yet the alternative was chaos and destruction. As discussions reached a climax, an unexpected voice rose, one of the ancient machines, awakened once more by the galaxy's collective will. It spoke not with words, but through a resonance felt in every heart and mind, a reminder of the fragile harmony that must be preserved. Its presence was both awe-inspiring and humbling, urging all to remember that life's value transcended power struggles. Inspired by this, the Council reached a unanimous agreement. The new accord was born, an alliance that recognized the unique strengths of each species, the shared history that bound them, and the responsibility to protect the galaxy for generations to come. The accord included plans for joint exploration, defense, and cultural exchange, ensuring no race would stand alone again. As the delegates signed the treaty beneath the stars, a new era dawned. The Ark of Sol, once a symbol of humanity's return, became a symbol of unity, traveling between systems to nurture this fragile peace. Talin and Kael looked to the future with cautious optimism, knowing challenges would come, but confident that the galaxy was stronger together. In the quiet moments after the celebration, Ambassador Voss reflected on the journey. The long silence, the arrival, the broken alliance, the echoes of the past, and the reckoning that had tested every soul. The new accord was not the end, but the beginning of a story still unfolding, one written by many hands and hearts. The galaxy had been shattered, but now it was healing, piece by piece, star by star, and humanity, once lost to time, had returned not as conquerors, but as guardians of hope.